Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Friday, and it's November the 2nd, 2012. If you've not been to the free website at PerfectStockAlert.com, it's right there. It's 100% free. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. The main thing I want to point out here is all the charts I'm about to show you, as I do in every video, they are kept on the free website there and updated every single day with my annotations. These are my personal charts. You can check them out there whenever you'd like. On Friday, I go over all of them. I show you guys everything that I track at PerfectStockAlert.com so that you guys know everything that I know moving into the week ahead. So let's get started. Looking at Australia's market to begin with, you'll notice we have this little reversal signal or a shooting star. I'm basically calling it a shooting star even though it's at the bottom of a pattern. I believe basically what we're seeing here is we had this nice little peak here, pull back here, attempt to find some consolidation, and we had a little tiny shallow bounce, and then we've started to go lower again. The main thing here, and reason why I'd be willing to short this here, assuming that the following market session gives us a lower low than today's low, even by intraday activity, even by 1 penny, I'd start shorting that with the tight stop set off of today's high, 1 cent above today's high. The reason why I would do that is because the actual price activity is still trading well above the 50-period moving average, and when overall markets are starting to break down, which we're seeing globally, and we look at the price activity as being in a bearish condition, going to be trading below the 50-period moving average. So we look at the best price, best short opportunities, best places to start selling would be at or above the 15-period moving average, and therefore this is still in a good trade opportunity in my opinion. Quick glance here at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We warned about this all week long, as well as last weekend when we told you that any little bounce that we got to the upside would be a shorting opportunity, and the closer you got to the 50-period moving average, the better. And so now we see that we're rolling over. We actually didn't quite get to that point there, but it doesn't really matter. You can still start shorting this point, and that's what I would do. If in this particular situation, I would start shorting immediately, being Monday. And on earlier today, we had intraday activity showed shooting star signals that were looking more like this. That was a clear sign. Had you been paying attention and watching the videos before, we were telling you this bounce, look for that particular signal. You saw it, you took advantage of it. A lot of people did. That's why you had this massive sell-off at the end of the day and continued this selling there. That's what I look forward to continue here. The French CAC 40 index, this one we are already short, and I'm looking for another opportunity to take another short position here. We're moving to basically moving up a little bit here. I'm looking for another shooting star signal, something like this formation here. I want to see that relatively soon, sometime next week. I expect you'll notice the ultimate oscillator pulling up here now at 62. You get up to the 70 line, you get in the overbought condition. That's where you typically peak out. So sometime on Monday or Tuesday, you'll get some kind of a sell signal, especially with the markets in the U.S. going lower. That's going to pull European markets lower as well. Also, next week you've got some more Greece data that will be in the news, so people will be talking about all that and that weigh in on the markets as well. So I'm watching this, but I wouldn't take another position just yet. Wait for another shooting star signal before you add to your position or enter a new one. Looking now at the Milan Index and the MIB, you can see that we're just basically moving sideways. We're seeing a lot of this in Europe actually right now, as everybody kind of waits to see what's going to happen. Well, right now I want to keep an eye on this one. As soon as we get it closed below this uptrend line here, this little support line, then I start shorting that. The German DAX composite, something we've been watching for a while. We haven't messed with it, just been moving sideways. There's potential here for a breakdown coming up. We've got a couple different things going on. You got this low point here, a lower low here. You got this a high point here and a higher high here. This gives you mixed signals. Whenever you have mixed signals, it says look for market activity to move sideways, which has been doing here. However, if price comes up here and fails to break out to a new high, that would be a short opportunity, as you'll be then having a series of lower highs and then also lower lows. You'd expect that low to be tested and likely to break through. So I'd be looking for that as a short opportunity. Maybe next week sometime we'd see that set up. We warned you last week looking at gold and silver not to attempt to buy these markets. I told you I just wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't like to attempt any long positions. But gold and silver was, again, something a lot of people like to buy whenever they get a dip. And this, if you attempted that, you've been caught. I get out of it and stay out of it. This is not a strong market in any way, shape, or form. You are pulling back substantially. We showed you the longer-term picture a few sessions back, and that shows that there's plenty of room to move to the downside there. So don't get involved right now. The Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, this is one we've been leaving alone for a while. We attempted a short here, thinking that perhaps this move to the upside here had exhausted itself and was going to roll over. We started to see what we thought was a bearish divergence formation, but it finally shook it off and justified itself, meaning we advance higher, get a higher high between this point and this point. That also confirmed by price activity here and here. But now we're starting to see it develop yet again. So we have this close here and then a higher close here. It's trending up. Get the corresponding time period on the ultimate oscillator here and here. It's trending down. So again, we want to watch this, say, okay, if this is a bearish divergence formation, that's great. It basically means the advances that we're seeing here is not sustainable. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit back and watch it. As soon as we start to get some kind of sell sign, we start to get some like shooting star signal. The following day gives us confirmation. That will be the sign that then is the right timing to start shorting it, and I'll attempt it again. Right now, just leave it alone, watch it, see what it does, but we want to wait for the right timing. Just because a divergence happens doesn't mean you jump on it. You got to wait for the market and the price activity to start to signal to you that in fact it is time to start selling it. The India Bombay Stock Exchange, or the BSE, this is another one that we've also been leaving alone for a while. I told you we've just been basically moving sideways right here, and nothing I wanted to do with that until I got some kind of improvement on the volatility side. Well, we got that this week. We started to see this little breakdown here, and we jumped back up into the sideways moving activity. We'll keep an eye on it and see if we start to get some clearer signals, maybe the lower series of highs than we saw over here, or overbought condition on the ultimate oscillator, something that we can work with, and we'll attempt to go short at that time. Again, I would not be going long any market out there right now. Japan iShares of the EWJ. This one we like on the short side as well, expecting this to start breaking down. What we're watching right now is you got this high point here, lower high here, low point here, and a higher low here. So you got conflicting signals. Whenever you've got that, it just basically means a sideways activity. Ergo, you're doing this number right here. If you're going to be looking for a short opportunity, a short play there, I would be, but I'm going to wait for the right signal. I want to see a shooting star at or above the 50-period moving average, and then I can take an entry position there. But right now we're just moving sideways right here, so keep an eye on it. The London Financial Times Index, or the FTSE, this is also just moving sideways. It's very boring, actually. Just keep an eye on it. Right now, we're keeping an eye to see if we get some more shooting star signal, something like that. This, you could argue it's a shooting star signal. If you got confirmation next day, you could take that probably. I'd like to wait for a little more clarity on this. Right now, we're just not seeing any real activity in any one direction or the other. We broke out of this little wedge formation that we're making up here, and then we just started moving sideways. We didn't really make any strong moves in either way, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. It's not the best chart to be trading right now. Quick glance here at the NASDAQ. You can see we talked about this one, I believe it was last weekend. We've had a short week here in the US, but last week we talked about this little move here. That's not perfectly drawn, but anyway, we expected that you could see resistance as early as coming up here and testing this previous neckline here and find it acting as resistance. Before it was support, 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 and then it would start acting as resistance, and that would mean a short opportunity. Intraday activity, you could have been selling this. I didn't, but if you did, congratulations. Continue to hold that position. Expect it to break down. Right now, I'm just going to leave this one alone. I've already got other positions out there, and this one is, if you're already in it, great. Keep a tight stop and continue to watch it to move to the downside. The only thing I would keep an eye on here, you're still trading above the 200-period moving average. I want to see that break. Looking now at the oil index, the XOI, we talked about this one is something that you'd be looking to short this particular week if you took advantage of that. Even if today moving up close to the 50-period moving average, any of those days that we told you could have been shorting there, you're now profitable and you're holding that position. That's fine. Continue to do that. Which we continue to move lower another day to the downside, we'll advance the stop from this current point that we have it at here. This previous trade was stopped out at this particular point. Quick glance here at the UUP, or the PowerShares DBU, is a dollar index bullish fund. This one we talked about last week as well. We talk about them all every week, but this one we told you that this little moving activity we had going on here sideways was actually preparing to roll to the upside, and that's exactly what happened. So this should be something you think about, because it's the inverse of the markets. When people go out there and they sell stock, they are in effect buying the dollar. That drives up the price of the dollar, and so that's something you should think about whenever you're seeing this getting bullish. That should be confirming your bearish view on the U.S. markets and things like that. So again, I'd be looking for this to continue to be pressing to the upside. We are getting up there. We're not quite there yet, but getting up there near the overbought condition. I'll be looking for that pretty close, about 22 level, because this is previous support is now going to be acting as resistance. That should be at about the 200-period moving average right here. So be looking for that test of that point there, and you'll be looking for equity prices to actually go lower as you see this guy actually go higher. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index was another good short opportunity, coming very close to the 50-period moving average. Talked about that as well. And with this little price activity here at the 50-period moving average, ricocheting off of that, the fact that you've got this low point, high point that's lower than the previous one, lower again, lower yet again, low point, lower low, lower low. You're in a downtrend. That's what you should be looking for. Sell opportunities. You should also be looking for that to happen. The best opportunities to be near the 50-period moving average. And again, whenever you're looking at your ultimate oscillator and you're in a very bearish environment, a lot of times you won't actually hit the 70 line on your overbought condition. You can do that on a bullish uptrend, but whenever you're getting really bearish conditions, you will actually ricochet early off of the 60 line there. And sometimes when you get really, really bearish, you'll just ricochet off the 50. So it doesn't have to be overbought in order to start rolling over. The SPX, or the S&P 500 large cap, and I told you this one yesterday. This is a beautiful trade here. I mean, absolutely perfect. You couldn't have asked anything better. Again, you had this move going to the upside. We told you any bounce that we were to get here this week would be a short opportunity. The best opportunity would be at the 50-period moving average, at or above it. You got that today, intraday, and you had a nice shooting star signal. We told you to look for that as well yesterday. And everything was perfect. So if you got short here, this is exactly what you should have done. Tomorrow you can short as well. Be looking for this to get taken out. Expect that to happen. And then testing the 200-period moving average. We'll advance the stop when we get down there. Notice again, it jumps up here to about the 60 line and rolls over early. Does not hit the hit or cross the 70 line here. That's quite often whenever you're looking at a bearish move or even a bullish move. If you look at the ultimate oscillator, you can get an idea of how strong or how weak it is based on how high she can actually travel before she rolls over. So that's an important little tidbit of information for you. You can see that actually the bearish argument here is getting stronger. If we look at this high point here compared to the one that we have now, you can see we're sloping down right here. We're seeing that the momentum to the downside here is improving, it's growing in favor of bears. Silver is the exact same story as gold. Would not be in favor of being a buyer here. I warned you about that last week. And again, I wouldn't just mess with it. Just continue to leave this guy alone. You start getting some good activity. If you went short near the 50-period moving average, that could have made sense to you. Keep a tight stop on it. Gold and silver, not something that I like to take a lot of my trades in. They're just difficult to trade. But again, if you are short, that's the right call, and continue to advance your stop, lock in your gains. Quick look here at the TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange. We're basically just moving sideways, just doing so at the upper range here. As we continue to move sideways here, this is something you could attempt to short. I've done it here. I attempted to do it here, got stopped out. This high point was higher than the previous one. We don't get a shooting star signal, so I'm not going to attempt to take this on the short side. However, I would not be a buyer. Again, note the high close here. Lower high close here means you're trending like this, the same time period. Ultimate oscillator, high point here, lower high here, bearish divergence. Any advance that continues here would be unsustainable and would just erase. Somebody could be shorting here. I understand that, but without a shooting star, I'm just going to hold to the rules and not do it. At the same time, I would understand your position. Maybe just say, okay, I agree with you 100%. You are trading above the 50-period moving average. I would be looking for short opportunities, but I'm going to pass on this one for now. We covered the VIX, or the volatility index, yesterday with the S&P 500 because they run the inverse of one another. Whenever the VIX is bullish, the S&P is bearish. We told you that this would be a great buying opportunity at or below the 50-period moving average, because you have to be looking at this gap right here that is actually trading still open right there. As you're looking for a test of the 1850 area, and so that's something that if anybody out there took advantage of, congratulations. Continue to trade in that direction. The trend is still up in the VIX and still bearish in the S&P. Last but not least would be the EMW. You can see that we are already short this position. We talked about this before. Told you I was willing to sit through a bounce here, even though we were just starting to break down below this little support line here. So I was going to be willing to short that. But again, you'll notice how close we were to the 50-period moving average. We come up to that point again, come back down below it, and you'll notice we're still getting lower series of highs, lower series of lows. I like this on the short side. If you can't tell, I don't like any long position out there in the markets unless you're trading an inverse, something that's going to be going up while something else is going down. I wouldn't be buying anything in this market. It's absolutely ridiculous market to be buying, and so I just won't do it. The trends are also pointing to the downside, so you should be trading with the trend and not against it. That's about it. I gotta say, for the rest of the week, I mean, we had a really short week. We had a couple of days that we were closed here in the U.S. because of the storm. I feel like I just did this video like yesterday. It's only been a couple of days since our last time we did a Friday video. So enjoy the weekend. Take care. Be safe. Have fun. And I will see you all on Monday. God bless. Take care. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.